I woke up and almost screamed. The face in the mirror wasn't mine. It was swollen, bruised, twisted in ways I couldn't understand. My lips were uneven, my cheeks were burning red, and one side of my face looked like it was sinking. I touched my skin and felt a sharp pain shoot through me. This wasn't healing, this was destruction. Just hours earlier, I believed the surgery would make me look better, happier, more confident. Instead, it felt like I was staring at a stranger or a monster wearing my skin. Downstairs, I heard footsteps, my partner. I rushed to him, desperate for comfort. But when he saw me, he froze. His face twisted with disgust and fear. He couldn't even hide it. He didn't hug me. He didn't reassure me. He simply grabbed his bag, whispered, "I can't do this," and walked out the door. That sound, the door closing, felt like my whole world collapsing. But it didn't end there. I tried to reach out to people I trusted. Friends who used to laugh with me. Family who always said they were there for me. One by one, they avoided my calls. They stopped visiting. Some even blocked me after seeing me in person. I saw the way they stepped back, the way their expression changed. Like I was contagious, like I was something to fear. The loneliness became louder than the pain. Nights became the worst. I would lie awake, drowning in thoughts I never knew I could have. The silence became sharp. The walls felt closer. And for the first time in my life, the darkness whispered things I was almost too weak to fight. It told me that maybe ending everything would be easier than facing my reality. I stood on the balcony once, gripping the rail so tight my hands shook. One step, just one step, and all the pain would stop. But something held me back, maybe a sliver of hope, maybe fear, maybe the memory of who I used to be. I walked back inside, shaking, realizing just how close I came to disappearing forever. And then, things got even worse. The pain in my face intensified. The swelling didn't go down. Every attempt to fix the damage only made it spread. My life was collapsing, my relationship gone, my friends and family gone, my identity fading. Just when I thought I had reached the lowest point possible, my phone buzzed with a message that made my heart stop. A message that threatened to drag me even deeper into a nightmare I wasn't sure I could survive.
Welcome to True Crime Diaries Vault, the place where every file tells a story and every story pulls you deeper into the unknown. Here, we unlock real-life mysteries, revisit chilling investigations, and open the vault on crimes that still haunt families, detectives, and entire communities. Every episode takes you inside the minds of criminals, the footsteps of victims, and the evidence that changes everything. If you crave true stories, real cases, and the truth hidden in the shadows, then you're in the right place. This is not just another crime channel. This is True Crime Diaries Vault, where every secret eventually comes to light. Subscribe and step into the vault.
When I opened my eyes after the surgery, the first thing I saw was swelling, bruises, and redness. My body looked nothing like the images I had spent months studying. Panic gripped me, and I immediately reached for my phone to call Michael. No answer. I left message after message, my voice shaking, tears falling. "Please, Michael, I need you. Come home." Nothing. I tried to stand, to move, but the pain was unbearable. Every movement hurt, and every mirror felt like it was mocking me. I couldn't recognize myself. Who was this in the reflection? Who had I become? Have you ever looked in a mirror and felt like a stranger was staring back at you? Tell me in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone in this. The isolation was crushing. Friends stopped calling. Messages went unanswered. Family avoided visits. People I had trusted, people I had loved, disappeared. I was trapped with my thoughts, my pain, and my fears. I remember sitting on the edge of the bed, hands trembling, heart racing. Thoughts I never wanted to have started to creep in. Thoughts of ending it all. Thoughts of disappearing. Have you ever felt so alone that the weight of your own life felt unbearable? Comment if you have. Days passed, and Michael finally returned home. But the look on his face was not what I expected. It wasn't concern. It wasn't love. It was disappointment, fear, and distance. "Isabella," he said quietly, "this isn't what we agreed to." I don't know what to say. His words cut deeper than any pain in my body. I wanted to explain, to tell him everything I had been feeling, all the pressure, all the fear, all the obsession. But the word stuck in my throat. Why do we let ourselves believe that changing our bodies will fix everything else in our lives? Have you ever tried to fix yourself externally when the real battles were inside? Share in the comments. The following week was even harder. Each day, I felt the distance growing between Michael and me. He tried in small ways to be supportive, but I could see the frustration and hurt in his eyes. Friends stopped visiting. Messages went unanswered. I felt the walls closing in. I began journaling again, writing down everything I felt. Anger, shame, fear, regret, all mixed together. Each entry reminded me of what I had done and what I had lost. The surgery that was supposed to give me confidence had stripped away the people I loved most. Have you ever made a choice that you thought would bring happiness but instead brought loss? Comment your experience below. I want to hear your story. The physical pain was unbearable, but the emotional pain was worse. Michael barely spoke to me. Every glance was filled with something I couldn't quite understand. Disappointment? Hurt? I wasn't sure. At night, I would lie awake, clutching the sheets, imagining what life would be like if I could undo it all. Could I go back for months and stop myself? Could I tell Michael what I truly felt? Could I fix the mistakes I had made? I remember one night sitting by the window, looking out at the streetlights and thinking, maybe I'll never feel whole again. Have you ever felt broken inside? Comment below. I want to know I'm not the only one. I started avoiding mirrors, avoiding social media, avoiding friends. The attention I once craved felt like knives in my chest. People's eyes weren't admiring, they were judging. I was no longer Isabella in their eyes. I was a cautionary tale. Have you ever felt the judgment of others way heavier than your own pain? Share your thoughts below. Michael tried to reach out to comfort me, but I couldn't accept it. I was ashamed. I was hurt. I felt betrayed by my own decisions and by the way life had unfolded. He would try to hug me and I would pull back. I didn't want to be touched. I didn't want anyone to see me like this. Friends who had once been close began to drift away. Calls went unanswered. Invitations stopped coming. I was disappearing from everyone's life, and I felt powerless to stop it. I thought constantly about what I had done and how differently my life could have been. If only I had listened to Michael. If only I had waited. If only I had told someone how scared I was. Regret became my constant companion. Do you ever wish you could go back and change one decision that altered your life forever? Comment below. I want to know you understand. Every day was a battle. Physical pain, emotional torment, loneliness, all crashing together. I felt like I was suffocating. I thought about what it would mean if I gave up completely. Every corner of my home reminded me of my failure, my mistakes, my regrets. Michael and I tried to talk, but the conversations always ended in silence, frustration, or tears. He wanted to help, but I couldn't let him. I felt undeserving of love. I felt like I had ruined everything. Have you ever felt unworthy of love because of a mistake? Let me know in the comments. I remember the nights most vividly. Sitting alone in the dark, clutching my body, wishing the pain would stop, wishing I could go back in time. I wanted to disappear. I wanted the hurt to end. Michael would occasionally check in, leave a note, or send a message. But every attempt felt like a reminder of my failure. I began to dread every interaction. I avoided him. I avoided myself. I avoided reality. The hospital visits were humiliating. Every appointment was a reminder of my mistake. The swelling, bruising, and complications seemed endless. And every time Michael saw me, the look on his face reminded me of what I had lost. Have you ever experienced a consequence so heavy it felt impossible to carry? Comment below. I need to hear from you. Even when I tried to reach out to family, the fear of judgment stopped me. Friends who had once been supportive now acted distant, unsure, uncomfortable. Every rejection, every pause, every awkward conversation became a wound in my heart. I began questioning everything. Was it worth it? Was it ever worth it? The surgery that I thought would fix everything had only magnified the emptiness inside. Michael and I became strangers in the same home. The intimacy we once had was gone. The laughter, the closeness, the love, all replaced by silence, fear, and regret. I asked myself constantly, could I ever rebuild this? Could I ever make him love me again? Could I ever forgive myself? Have you ever felt like your life was collapsing around you because of one choice? Comment below, I want to hear from you. The days turned into weeks, and I felt the distance between Michael and me grow even more. Each morning, I would wake up, glance at my reflection, and recoil. I didn't recognize myself. My body, my face, everything was different, distorted, bruised, swollen, and Michael's absence made it feel even worse. He would try to talk, but every conversation ended awkwardly. "Isabella, we'll get through this," he would say softly, but his words felt hollow. I could see the worry in his eyes, the disappointment I couldn't undo. Have you ever had someone you love deeply withdraw from you? How did it feel? Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. I started avoiding mirrors. Each reflection reminded me of my failure, my obsession, and my mistakes. Social media, which had once fueled my dreams of transformation, now tormented me. People's eyes felt judgmental, their comments critical. I felt like cautionary tale. Michael would gently approach, trying to comfort me, but I pushed him away. I couldn't bear to let anyone see me like that, broken, bruised, and alone. The isolation was unbearable. Friends stopped visiting. Calls went unanswered. Even the people who had once been closest to me began to fade from my life. The loneliness was suffocating, and it seemed endless. Have you ever felt like the people you love most were slipping away, leaving you alone to face your pain? Tell me in the comments. I started journaling obsessively, writing down every thought, every fear, every regret. The entries were raw and painful. I admitted to myself things I hadn't dared say aloud. Fear of never being loved again. Fear that Michael would leave me forever. Fear that I would never feel whole. Every day, the physical pain was unbearable. Each movement, each step, each glance in the mirror was a reminder of what I had done. And yet, the emotional pain was far worse. I wanted to tell Michael everything, the obsession, the fear, the sleepless nights, but the words would not come. Every time I tried, the guilt and shame choked me. Have you ever wanted to confess something, but the weight of shame stopped you? Share it below. I need to know I'm not alone. One night, I sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling, staring at the floor. Thoughts I had never imagined began to creep in. Thoughts of giving up. Thoughts of ending it all. I felt trapped in my own body, abandoned by Michael, and rejected by everyone I thought I could trust. Michael eventually returned home after a long day, but his presence didn't comfort me. The look on his face, distress, worry, and distance, felt like a final judgment. He tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled back. I couldn't face him. I couldn't face myself. Have you ever felt like someone you love is closer yet unreachable at the same time? Comment below. I want to hear if you've ever felt this kind of pain. The hospital visits were humiliating. Each appointment was a reminder of my failure, my choices, and the reality I could not escape. Doctors would check the swelling, the bruising, the progress, and I would nod silently, pretending I was fine. Inside, I was screaming. Michael tried to comfort me, bringing flowers, trying to sit with me during the long recovery. But even his gestures felt like a mirror showing me what I had lost. I began to dread his presence, because every glance reminded me of my mistakes. Friends stopped reaching out entirely. Messages went unanswered. Invitations disappeared. I became invisible to everyone I loved. The more isolation I felt, the deeper the spiral became. Do you know that feeling when you realize you are alone, even in a crowded room? Comment if you've experienced it. I need to hear from you. The nights were the worst. Sitting alone, I would stare at the darkness, clutching my body, wondering if the pain would ever stop. I thought about going back, undoing everything, but I knew it was impossible. I was trapped in the consequences of my own choices. Michael and I would try to speak, but the conversations always ended in frustration or tears. He wanted to help, but I couldn't let him. I felt unworthy of love. I felt like I had ruined everything. Have you ever felt unworthy of love because of a mistake? Share your thoughts in the comments. One afternoon, I looked in the mirror and realized I could barely recognize Isabella anymore. My body was bruised, swollen, and painful. My confidence, my joy, my life, it felt like it had been stripped away in a single moment. The regret was unbearable. For months of obsession, planning, and dreaming had led to this, a life filled with pain, isolation, and despair. Every day, I asked myself, Could I ever make this right? Could I ever regain Michael's love? Could I ever forgive myself? Have you ever wished you could go back and undo one single decision? Comment below. I want to know I'm not the only one. Weeks passed and the mental toll grew heavier. The loneliness, the shame, the fear, they became constant companions. Every message I sent went unanswered. Every knock at the door felt like a test I would fail. Michael tried in small ways, but I couldn't respond. The distance between us had become a canyon. I remember one evening, curled up on the couch, clutching a pillow, tears streaming down my face. I whispered into the emptiness, "Why did I do this? Why did I let it go this far?" No answer came, except the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my chest. I began to realize that my obsession, my drive to change myself, had cost me more than just physical pain. It had cost me relationships, trust, love, and my sense of self. Do you ever feel like one decision can take everything you love away? Comment below. I want to hear from you. The nights became endless cycles of fear, regret, and hopelessness. I would stare at my reflection, willing it to change, willing it to be the version I had dreamed of. But each morning, it was the same, swelling, bruising, distorted. The mirror became a source of torment rather than inspiration. Michael would try to comfort me, gently reaching out, but I would pull back. I couldn't face him. I couldn't face the disappointment in his eyes. I couldn't face the reflection of what I had done. The isolation deepened. Friends, family, even casual acquaintances all began to vanish from my life. Every unanswered message, every canceled visit, every hesitant glance became another wound in my heart. Have you ever felt like the world is slipping away from you one person at a time? Comment below. I need to know I'm not alone. I tried to sleep at night, but sleep didn't come. The pain, the thoughts, the regret, they consumed me. I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, imagining what life could have been if I had just waited, if I had just listened to Michael, if I had just chosen differently. Each day felt like an eternity. Each night, the dark thoughts grew stronger. I wondered if I would ever feel normal again, if I would ever feel loved again, if I would ever forgive myself. Michael and I existed in the same house, but we were strangers. The intimacy we once shared, the laughter, the shared dreams, all replaced by silence, fear, and regret. Have you ever lost yourself in a decision that changed everything? Comment below. I want to hear your story. I began documenting everything, my pain, my thoughts, my feelings. The journal became my only friend, my only outlet. I wrote about Michael, my fears, the people who had abandoned me, the mistakes I couldn't undo. Each entry was a mix of anger, despair, hope, and longing. I wanted Michael to understand, to see the real me beneath the bruises and swelling. But I couldn't find the courage to speak the words aloud. The days blurred together. Every mirror, every reflection, every step reminded me of what I had lost. Every glance from Michael reminded me of what I could not repair. Have you ever felt trapped in your own life? Haunted by decisions you cannot undo? Share in the comments. I want to know I'm not the only one. The more days passed, the heavier the weight of isolation became. Michael would sit quietly, watching me struggle, but every glance reminded me of the distance between us. I felt trapped in my own home, alone with my pain, my swelling, and my regrets. I remember sitting on the couch one afternoon, hugging my knees, whispering to myself, "Why did I let it go this far? Why did I think this would make me happy?" The silence was deafening. The emptiness consumed every part of me. Have you ever felt trapped in a life that used to feel safe and familiar? Comment below. I need to know you understand. The bruises and swelling were bad enough, but the emotional toll was unbearable. Friends stopped visiting. Calls went unanswered. Even people I thought were close began to drift away. I began to feel invisible, like I was disappearing from the world. Michael tried to reach me, to comfort me, but I couldn't accept it. The shame, the guilt, the regret, it all blocked me. I felt undeserving of his love. I felt like I had ruined everything we had built together. Have you ever felt unworthy of love because of a choice you made? Comment below. I need to hear from someone who understands. Nights were the hardest. Alone in the dark, I would lie awake, clutching my body, wishing the pain would stop. Thoughts of ending it all began creeping into my mind. I felt like I couldn't breathe under the weight of everything. Michael's absence, the isolation, the rejection, and my own shame. Each day, the mirror reminded me of my mistake. Every reflection was a confrontation with the version of myself I no longer recognized. I didn't just lose my physical comfort. I lost my confidence, my relationships, and my sense of self. Have you ever stared at yourself and felt like a stranger was looking back? Comment below if you've ever experienced that. Michael tried small gestures, flowers, soft words, notes of encouragement, but they only reminded me of what I had lost. I avoided him. I avoided mirrors. I avoided the world. Each interaction, even one meant to comfort me, felt like a judgment. I began journaling, obsessively pouring every emotion onto the pages. Anger, despair, longing, regret, they filled the lines. I wrote about Michael, about my fears, about the people who had abandoned me. Writing was the only way to release the pain. I couldn't speak aloud. Have you ever tried to write your pain away? Comment below if you understand that desperate need to be heard. Weeks turned into a blur. The pain in my body gradually lessened, but the emotional wounds only deepened. Michael and I existed together, but apart, like two strangers forced to share the same space. The laughter, the intimacy, the love, all gone. Every night, I would stare at the ceiling and ask myself, can this ever be fixed? Can I ever feel normal again? Can Michael ever see me as I am, without all this damage between us? Have you ever felt like something you once loved was lost forever? Comment below. I want to know I'm not alone. The loneliness became almost physical. Every unanswered message, every canceled visit, every hesitant glance from someone I loved became another scar on my heart. I began to question myself constantly. Was it worth it? Could I have prevented this? Could I have stopped myself before it was too late? I realized slowly, painfully, that my obsession with changing myself had cost me more than I imagined. Not just physical pain, but love, trust, confidence, and the life I had once known. Have you ever done something for yourself that unintentionally hurt everyone you love? Tell me in the comments. Michael tried to reach out more actively, but every gesture felt like a mirror reflecting my failures. Even when he tried to comfort me, I couldn't accept it. I felt undeserving. I felt broken. I felt lost. I began avoiding social interactions completely. Friends and family seemed to drift away, either unsure of how to help or uncomfortable with my transformation. Each day, the isolation grew, and with it, the despair. Have you ever felt invisible, even to the people you love most? Share below. I want to know I'm not alone. I started to question everything about myself. Every thought, every action, every decision. It felt like a chain pulling me deeper into regret. I couldn't stop thinking about what life would have been like if I had just waited, if I had just told Michael how scared I was, if I had just paused before making that choice. The regret was unbearable. Every day was a reminder of what I had lost and what I could never get back. Have you ever carried a regret so heavy it feels like it could crush you? Comment below. I want to hear your story. Even when Michael tried to speak to me, I would shut down. I couldn't face him. I couldn't face the disappointment in his eyes. I couldn't face the reflection of myself in the mirror. I couldn't face the friends and family who had drifted away. I began imagining how life might have been different. What if I had just loved myself as I was? What if I had listened to Michael's warnings? What if I had stopped obsessing over what I thought I needed to be happy? Have you ever imagined an alternate version of your life? One where your mistakes never happened? Tell me in the comments. I need to know someone understands. The nights were endless. Sitting alone in the dark, clutching my body, I would whisper into the silence. I wish I could undo it all. I wish I could fix this. I wish I could be whole again. The answers never came, only the sound of my own heartbeat and the shadow of despair creeping closer each day. Michael and I lived in the same house, but we were strangers. The closeness we once shared, the laughter, the intimacy, it was all gone. Silence, fear, and regret replaced every interaction. Have you ever felt like someone you love most is still there, but completely unreachable? Comment below. I need to know I'm not alone. I poured my soul into journaling. Every night, I wrote about the pain, the rejection, the despair. I wrote about Michael, about my friends who no longer called. about the isolation that was suffocating me. Writing was the only way to breathe, the only way to release the storm inside me. The days became a cycle of reflection, pain, and hopelessness. Mirrors reminded me of the mistakes I couldn't undo. Michael's presence reminded me of what I had lost. Every sound, every glance, every interaction became a reminder of the life I had destroyed with my obsession. Have you ever felt trapped by your own decisions, wishing you could turn back time? Comment below. I need to hear from someone who understands. And then one day, I looked in the mirror and realized something terrifying. The swelling was beginning to go down, but the damage was permanent. I wasn't going to look like the image I had dreamt of. Michael's disappointment was permanent too. Friends and family had retreated, and I was left with the weight of my own mistakes. Have you ever faced a moment where reality is far worse than you could have imagined? Comment below. I want to know you understand. Michael and I tried to speak occasionally, but even our attempts were filled with silence, awkwardness, and tension. He wanted to help, but I had built walls too high for him to reach. I was ashamed, hurt, broken, and alone. Every day became a struggle to find meaning, to find purpose, to find hope. I questioned everything. Myself, my choices, the people around me. Could I ever repair this? Could I ever forgive myself? Could Michael ever see me as I was, beyond all this pain? Have you ever wondered if forgiveness is even possible after a mistake that changed everything? Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. I realized that the people I thought I could rely on, Michael, friends, family, they weren't abandoning me because they didn't care. They were leaving because they didn't know how to help. And that realization hurt almost as much as the isolation itself. Every unanswered call, every avoided visit, every hesitant glance became a new wound. I began to feel like I would never recover, never heal, never feel whole again. Have you ever felt abandoned, even by the people who love you most? Comment below. I need to know I'm not the only one. The nights were long. I would sit by the window, staring at the streetlights, wondering if life would ever be the same. Michael's presence, my body, my relationships, they all seemed like shadows of what they once were. I didn't just lose a body. I lost confidence, love, trust, and hope. Have you ever stared into the darkness and felt the weight of your own life crushing you? Comment below. I want to hear from someone who understands. I never thought one decision could change everything in my life, but it did. I thought the surgery would make me confident, desirable, and happy. I thought Michael would see me the way I wanted him to, but I was wrong. Have you ever made a choice that seemed small at the time, but ended up changing your life forever? Comment below. I need to know I'm not alone. The morning after my surgery, I opened my eyes and froze. My body was swollen, bruised, and painful. My reflection looked alien. I tried to sit up, but every movement was agony. I grabbed my phone and called Michael. No answer. Michael! Please, I need you. I whispered into the silence, my voice shaking. But there was nothing. The messages I sent went unanswered. Panic and fear gripped me. Have you ever felt completely alone, even when someone you love is supposed to be there for you? Comment below. I need to hear your story. Friends stopped visiting. Calls went unanswered. Family seemed distant. I was disappearing from everyone's lives, and I felt powerless to stop it. The surgery that was supposed to give me confidence had only left me isolated, broken, and alone. Every glance in the mirror was a reminder of what I had done. I didn't recognize myself anymore. I didn't recognize the person I had become. My body was bruised, swollen, and unfamiliar, but the emotional pain was far worse. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like a stranger was staring back at you? Share your experience in the comments. Michael finally returned home, but he wasn't the man I remembered. There was distance in his eyes, frustration in his voice, and a hesitation I hadn't seen before. Isabella, this isn't what we agreed to, he said quietly. I don't know what to say. His words cut deeper than any pain in my body. I wanted to explain, to tell him everything. The fear, the obsession, the nights I cried alone, but the words got stuck in my throat. Have you ever tried to explain your pain to someone you love, but the words just wouldn't come out? Comment below. Days passed and Michael's distance grew. I tried to reach out to friends, but they were hesitant. Some avoided me. Others seemed unsure of what to say. The people I trusted most had begun to disappear. I felt abandoned, rejected, and utterly alone. The thoughts in my head became darker. For the first time, I considered ending it all. The despair was suffocating. Have you ever felt so alone that the weight of your own life became unbearable? Comment below. I want to know I'm not alone. I began journaling everything. Every thought, every fear, every regret poured onto the pages. I wrote about Michael, about friends who had disappeared, about the loneliness that consumed me. Writing was my only outlet, my only way to release the storm inside. The physical pain slowly began to fade, but the emotional scars remained. Every time I looked at Michael, I saw judgment in his eyes, or at least that's what I felt. Every attempt at comfort felt like a reminder of everything I had lost. Have you ever felt undeserving of love because of a mistake you made? Share in the comments. I want to hear your story. Nights became unbearable. I would sit alone, staring at the ceiling, hugging my body, and wondering how I had let it come to this. Thoughts of escape, of disappearing, filled my mind. The surgery, which was supposed to fix me, had brought me closer to despair than ever. Michael would occasionally try to reach me to offer support, but I pushed him away. I felt ashamed. I felt broken. I felt like I had ruined everything we had built together. Have you ever pushed someone away, even when you needed them most? Comment below. Weeks passed. The isolation continued. Michael and I lived under the same roof, but we were strangers. Silence replaced laughter. Distance replaced intimacy. I felt invisible, even to the person I loved the most. I tried looking in the mirror, but the reflection frightened me. The bruises and swelling were visible, but the deeper damage, the loss of confidence, the heartbreak, the guilt was invisible. How do you explain that to someone else? Have you ever felt broken in a way no one could see? Comment below. I want to hear from you. Even the small gestures Michael made, bringing flowers, trying to hug me, leaving notes, felt unbearable. They reminded me of what I had lost and what I had become. I couldn't accept his love. I didn't deserve it. I stopped calling friends. I ignored messages. I avoided family. I felt like I had burned every bridge. And the loneliness, it was unbearable. Have you ever felt like you were completely alone, even when surrounded by people? Comment below. I spent hours in my journal, pouring out every fear, every regret, every heartbreak. I wrote about Michael, about the people who had drifted away, about my own body and my own mistakes. Writing was the only thing that kept me sane. The nights were long. Every time I closed my eyes, the thoughts came back. The swelling, the bruises, the judgment, the isolation, it was endless. I wondered if I would ever feel whole again, if I would ever see Michael's eyes filled with love instead of disappointment, if I would ever forgive myself. Have you ever struggled to forgive yourself for something that changed your life forever? Comment below. I want to know I'm not alone. One night, I finally confronted Michael. I need you to understand what I've been feeling, I said, tears streaming. He looked at me, exhausted and worried in his eyes. Isabella, I want to help. I want to be here for you, but I don't know how. I don't know who you are anymore. His words shattered me. I fell to the floor, sobbing. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted to be confident, to feel beautiful, to feel loved. I didn't know it would destroy everything. Have you ever had someone you love tell you something that broke your heart completely? Comment below. The following weeks were about survival, emotional survival. I began therapy, slowly learning to rebuild myself. Michael was there, patient, supporting me without judgment. Slowly, I began to see glimpses of hope. I learned that confidence doesn't come from appearance. It comes from self-love, acceptance, and resilience. Have you ever gone through a period where the only way to survive was to rebuild yourself from scratch? Comment below. I want to hear your story. I started to face the mirror again. This time, not with fear, but with curiosity. I began to see progress, not just in my body, but in my mind. The bruises were fading, the swelling was going down, and my reflection began to feel familiar again. More importantly, I began to see myself with understanding and forgiveness. I realized that the surgery was never going to fix what was broken inside. I had to do that work myself. Have you ever had to face yourself and accept your flaws, your mistakes, and your past? Comment below. I want to know you understand. Michael and I began to reconnect slowly. Small gestures, a hand held, a shared laugh, a quiet conversation, reminded me of the bond we had before. It wasn't perfect, and it wouldn't happen overnight, but love was still there. We learned that relationships aren't about perfection. They're about trust, patience, and communication. And slowly, we started to rebuild what had been broken. Have you ever had to rebuild a relationship after it was nearly destroyed? Comment below. I want to hear your story. I learned that chasing perfection can be dangerous, that obsessing over appearance can blind you to the people who love you, that the choices we make, even with good intentions, can change our lives forever. I learned that real confidence comes from within, and that love can survive even the darkest moments if both people are willing to fight for it. Have you ever learned a hard lesson about life, love, or self-acceptance? Share in the comments. I want to hear your experience. Even now, I ask myself, was justice truly served? Not in the legal sense, not in the eyes of others, but by me? Could I forgive myself fully? Could I let go of the regret, the obsession, and the pain that almost destroyed everything I loved? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. If you've watched this far, I need you to do something for me. Like this video. Share it. Comment your thoughts. Every interaction helps heal a little of the hurt, a little of the betrayal, a little of the despair. Subscribe to this channel to follow stories like mine. Stories of mistakes, survival, love, and learning to rise again. Every like, every share, every comment is a step toward healing for me and for you. This is my story. The surgery that went wrong, the distance growing between Michael and me, the isolation, the despair, and the slow journey back to myself. If you take one thing from this story, let it be this. Perfection is a trap obsession can destroy, and love, real love, can survive even the deepest pain if you fight for it. Wherever you are watching from, California, New York, London, or anywhere else, remember this. Mistakes do not define you. Your courage, your resilience, and your ability to learn from pain do. Have you ever faced a mistake that changed your life forever? Comment below. I want to hear from you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. Every action is a step toward healing, not just for me, but for you too.